Welcome back to Local Voices. Today I am with Andrew and Victoria Jergenson. They are the lead. Andrew's the lead pastor, and Victoria is the executive pastor for the Aitkin Assembly of God Church. Welcome, you two.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're happy to have you in here. Local Voices series, as we've talked about, is highlighting, some of the local leaders that we have. You are one of them, right? Local leaders that we have in our area doing a tremendous amount of work at your church, which you're going to tell us about, a tremendous amount of work inside the Chamber of Commerce with Aitkin and all of the community service that's going on there. So we want to make sure that we talk with those leaders, and again, welcome and thank you for coming in. But before we get into all of that stuff, you're newer to the area, right?
Yes. Yep.
3.5 years we've been here.
3.5. Time flies too when you're having fun.
Very fast.
Yeah. So I know a little bit about you, but let's let the listeners get to know a little bit. What brought you to Aitkin County? Where'd you come from? How did you find this to be where you want to settle down?
No, very good. So it's a long story, but just kind of the nuts and bolts is pastoring was not on my agenda. I retired with Walmart after 20 years, and during that time I got a call on my life. It's been an amazing journey, but Aitkin was actually not even on the radar. As we were looking for different churches, how it looks is you look for churches that are available, and I got a phone call about Aitkin, but we were already long down the road of another church on the Iowa-Minnesota border. Yeah. And so I kindly said, hey, we're looking already, I just don't want to string you along. And kind of interesting, that next night, my heart was breaking for Aitkin. And I got up in the middle of the night and started praying, and I'm like, oh, Victoria's family lives in the Iowa area, so we're going to move from a 7-hour distance to an hour away from her family, which in 17, 18 years, we had not been that close to them. But anyway, so a couple days later, I got up and talked to Victoria, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I feel like we're being called a different direction, and then Victoria can kind of fill in.
Well, I felt exactly the same way. I actually woke up the same night he did, just at a different time, and just tears running down my face, and my heart was breaking for Aitkin, and I knew nothing about Aitkin. Never heard the name of Aitkin before that phone call. As far as I know, never been in Aitkin, or I knew nothing. But my heart was just broken for Aitkin, and I didn't know why. I had a ski accident early that year, about 3 months prior to that, and could not extend my leg fully or fold it very well. So I actually could not physically get down on my knees, but I felt God saying, get on your knees and pray for Aitkin. And I'm like, I can't do that physically, God. Get down on your knees and pray. So I got out of bed and I went to the living room and I got down on my knees to pray. And that in itself is a miracle. I probably stayed there for a couple hours, which was an entirely different miracle. Got up, my knee didn't feel any worse for the wear once I felt that release from prayer. And so both of us that same night had that same Aitkin was just laid on our hearts. And so we called up the pastor who had called us and said, I think we need to come see Aitkin. And it was funny, as we drove into town, we both were like, it feels like home. Like it was a coming home moment. And we had lived in Glenwood 18 years. And we loved it there. We thought that was home. So for somewhere else to feel like home, it was just a really cool thing.
It's an amazing story, and the power of things that, come over you when you have a calling, or you see that calling, or you get that calling, however you want to talk about that. It just, for you to choose Aitkin and not go south is just amazing, right? And we're lucky to have you here. Obviously, we're glad you made the decision that you did. Yeah, good. So Aitkin Assembly of God Church, and if I'm not saying any of the things correctly, please correct me, because I want to be on my best behavior also in here with you guys as in here. But we said executive pastor, and Andrew, you're the lead pastor. One sounds like she's the boss, but you're explaining it to me that it's kind of different. So tell me what's going on over there.
So the easiest way to put this is the lead, I set the vision and the direction we're going to go. Executive, she does the nuts and bolts behind the scene. So I'm relational. I love relationships. I love building relationships with people. So when Victoria does her job, she takes care of the finances, she takes care of the calendaring, all those different things.
More the administrative.
all administrative stuff, so that I'm available to be in the community.
Yeah.
And there's several key factors I'm able to be part of because of that and walk out the vision that has been laid on my heart. So
Yeah.
she's the nuts and bolts guy. I'm the handshaker.
There you go, and that it works perfect. And coincidentally, you guys have the same last name, so it's a unique situation where
Right.
it works out pretty well, right?
Yes. So Victoria was credentialed a year after I was.
2 years after you.
2 years after I was. And then, so actually we're just finishing up our last piece for our last part of our license. We will walk this April. And then our licensure is as high as we can go with that. So
Sure. So for you, quite a difference. Walmart for a number of years, and now you're calling for this. Tell me some of those visions that you have for Aitkin Assembly of God Church that you just spoke to.
Sure. So you can take me out of retail, but you really can't take the retail out of heart, because I love retail. So, but what that means for me is like a lot of apparel that we wear, it's Aitkin stuff. We try to make sure that we advertise, we try to get out in front of people, because I don't believe Sunday morning is a 1 hour experience. There is still 7 days a week with all the hours in there. What are we doing in between Sundays? And I believe that's where a lot of the work that's going to go. So you asked about vision. So I believe there's a time to pray, but there's also a time to go and move. So what's been laid on my heart is backyard missions. So a lot of times we talk about missions as a worldwide, but I believe our backyard is what enforces our worldwide missions. Mm-hmm. So when we do our job well, as far as pastoring in a community, that is where the base gets built, and then we become senders. So you go through all the different steps of one more growing towards Jesus, one more saved, one more baptized, and then one more sent. And that's really the vision. So it is backyard, being in the community, and any facets that we can be, we're going to be there. And that's with the chamber and other different things too.
Yeah,
Anything to add to that?
awesome.
Yeah, just we're called to be the church, not just be in the church. And that's two very different things that I think sometimes get looked over.
Just taking a look at the congregation itself, and you mentioned community. First of all, how welcoming was the community? You can tell me the truth. We're put it out on the airwaves, but I imagine from the community that we live in that they're very welcoming. But
Very.
Tell us the story of that.
Yeah, no, they were just amazing. I've never experienced being in a community and feeling integrated so quickly and just feeling loved and embraced. So it's been amazing from day one. We've loved it here. Our kids have loved it here. It's been good for us as a family. I don't know what you have to add to that.
No, the community has been fantastic. The people at the church were loving, caring, all the different things. They were excited to have somebody come in and love on them and lead a direction that we're going to go. One of the things during the interview, they asked about vision and things like that. And what was laid on my heart is to show up. Mm-hmm. And what that meant in that time for showing up is when you're invited somewhere, you go. If there's an opening, there's a need, you're there. And there was a lot of that. When we came, the community was actually hurting. There was a snowmobile accident. There was a number of suicides and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And there was a real time of instability. And what that did, though, is there was a lot of people that just needed things. They needed to be loved on. They needed to be able to talk through those things, and it really lent a lot of things with Health and Human Services, and the chamber came part of that, and eventually PD and different things like that. So there was a time. It was such a time as this, and I feel like that's what we walked into.
Yeah, just like a belonging or a togetherness needed, or that type of thing, which is really, really solid for a community. It's community taking care of community, right? And how large is, if congregation is the word, or group, or your team, how large are you?
We started between 30 and 40 regular attenders.
Yeah.
We're up around about 175 right now between two services, which is wonderful. Our first service is smaller and it works out really well. Our second one, we're growing, if that makes sense. Kids, it was kind of. I'm going to tell this story. You can cut it out later.
Yes, no, absolutely.
I'm going to tell this story.
Feel free.
When we came there downstairs was just doors for days, is what we called it, because it was small classroom after small classroom after small classroom. And at that time, we didn't have any infants there. and at least we didn't have in the time that we saw. I'm like, hey, I think we should take this room and let's just get this ready. And we took a piano out of there, we took some furniture out of there, we came and painted it, and then we put like a Noah's Ark little big sticker on the wall. And I remember standing there like, I don't know why we're doing this, but we're going to do it. And that next Sunday is when we had our first infant show up.
We actually had 2 show up that first week.
2?
Yeah.
And that has been the story that keeps going. And so when I say it feels like we're just supposed to show up, that's what we do. When there's a seed that's planted, and it's like, this is the direction we're supposed to go, we show up, and God just starts to multiply and move things, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You mentioned a little bit about your involvement with the chamber,
Yep.
and I know that you had taken on the chairperson for the Winter Wonderama over the past couple of years, and what a great event, right? And how did you choose to become part in that, or did you just get it thrown at you and say?
I didn't know anything about the chamber. I didn't know how it worked. A letter showed up, and it showed the fees on there, and I'm like, well, that's not very much. And we had one of the ladies that worked at the chamber was at the church, and I just remember one day finding where the chamber office was and wandered in there, and I'm like, can you tell me about the chamber? And if you know anything about community, there's always volunteer opportunities.
Yes.
And so we actually started with the events committee, and loved the events committee, and still love it, still part of it today. The chamber has probably been one of the most fruitful ministry opportunities that we have, because it gets us in connection with so many different people, so many different businesses, so many different aspects of community. But that's where it grew. It grew in the events committee, and eventually was invited onto the board. Somebody had left, so there was a term that was left, so I was asked to be part of that. Then I was voted onto the board, and just being part of a lot of those different things, like I said, it created avenues that I've never been able to imagine that it would do. So,
and that Winter Wonderama for the families is just a great event, and has been a great event. But it took quite a few notches upwards when you guys took it over there, just to let you know that, and having the people that could associate with all of you and what you're doing, it just really made some sense, and it's been a great event, and hopefully it continues. And we'll have that going. But, yeah. So tell me about some of the other events, classes, things like that are going on at your church.
Sure. So on Wednesdays we have Bible Engagement Project, and that's from 6 to 7 p.m. And that's just really digging into the Word, being able to just get deeper than you can do on a Sunday. We have a time for kids during that. They get to learn the same lessons that we're learning as adults, but on a much scaled down, scale for them. And then they get to play and have fun. So it's just a really good family night. Sunday services, we have 2 services at 9 and 10:30 a.m. And then we try and do a lot of other things in between. Right now we've got a Holy Spirit Encounter class that is 4 weeks, and this is our 3rd one that we've run back to back with that. So doing that on Tuesdays, and
Sunday mornings there's a small group that starts up there. So small groups are a little bit different. So to mention that I came out of retail, right? So pastoring was not, I didn't grow up pastoring. So small groups when I lead them, are a little bit different. They're more conversational. So we may have an agenda kind of where we're going to go, but oftentimes we stick in a scripture, and it really comes down to like, what is salvation? Like, what is that? Who is God? Who is Jesus? Who is the Holy Spirit? And we get to, people will be like, just ask whatever question you have, and we spend time digging into those different aspects of it. And I really enjoy that. I like to teach, but I love teaching through conversation. And that's my favorite. Let's get in the Word together. Let's open the Bible together. That is how it's fun for me, and I enjoy it. And that has grown a lot of depth with people that come to those, because I'm a big believer in relationships. And when you have a good relationship with someone, you can ask the hard questions. And when you can ask the hard questions, you get to experience a deeper truth in something. And I think that's pretty amazing, a lot of fun.
Yeah, so. I really think that it's interesting that the smaller group things and getting more detailed, more done than you might be able to on a Sunday morning. that makes a lot of sense to me. I love that you're doing that, and I love that you're doing everything here for our community. You could be anywhere in the world, but you chose Aitkin. Aitkin chose you, or somebody
Yes,
chose
yes,
it for
yes.
you, which is really good. So I appreciate you being in here. And again, Aitkin Assembly of God Church, Andrew and Victoria, you guys are leaders in our community, giving back to the community and making sure that you're here to take care of community, taking care of community. Thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
And
Thank
we
you.
hope
Thanks
to
for the invite.
see you again very soon. If you have other things that you want to talk about, something pops up that you're doing over at Aitkin Assembly of God, please stop by and let's record another podcast.
That
Sounds
sounds like a
great.
plan.
All right. Thank you guys. And you are listening to Coffee with the County.